The Relationship Between Murder, Death Penalty, and Religion by Ashley Denty and Lori Miller. Literature review. Rubin and Babel show that primary motivation for using research is for social workers to have empathy for the clients. Gudorf shows that, for at least the first century and a half, Christians were encouraged to be nonviolent. The advent for many wars caused capital punishment to be accepted to prevent crime. Today, many Christians believe the death penalty should be used for certain cases. Others take the position that criminals should be sentenced to life in prison without parole. New evidence from DNA have caused convictions to be overturned. Economic plays a role in death penalty cases because of execution costs and expenses. Maggard, Payne, and Chappell shows by the early 1990s, nearly 80% of individuals surveyed supported death penalty for murder. Survey trends from the GSS from 1972 to 2010 showed decreasing support to 65%. Caucasians and single persons were more likely to vote for the death penalty. Non-Caucasians were less likely to vote for the death penalty. Married Caucasians were more supportive. Non-married Caucasians were less supportive. This seems to suggest that non-white people consider the death penalty culturally biased. This study did not research the impact of murder as a cause for death penalty nor religion. Jones 2013 shows 60% of Americans favor the death penalty for convicted murders. The lowest level of support was measured in 1972, which was 57%. 18 U.S. states have banned the death penalty, and changes in beliefs could result from social issues and more liberal viewpoints. Picker shows the Supreme Court issued a moratorium on executions in 1972. This decision was reversed in 1976. This demonstrates how the death penalty has been an emotional and disturbing social issue. Jones 2014 shows Oklahoma death row inmate lethal injection caused suffering ending in a heart attack. Despite this, 60% of individuals still favored the death penalty for murder. Pettis, Davis, Grady, Cuddleback, and Schwyatt shows social workers are the vehicle through which research and article interventions are transferred to clients. Social workers must know about and understand research evidence and apply it to practice. Methodology. Hypothesis. Our hypothesis was that individuals with religious beliefs will have a high rate of people who oppose the death penalty, while non-religious people will have a greater rate, favoring the death penalty for the conviction of murder. The variables in our study are religion and whether the individual favors the death penalty for an individual convicted of murder or is against the death penalty for an individual who has been convicted of murder. The sample size was 1,964 participants. In the 2012 general survey was used for the data analysis. We used questions about religious attendance for our study. The categories were the individuals had attended religious services never, less than once a year, several times a year, once a month, 2 to 3 times a month, nearly every month, every week, and more than once a week. The data analysis types used were cross-tabulation and Pearson chi-square. The findings show that the independent variable, most individuals never attended religious services. For the dependent variable, 65% favor the death penalty, while only 35% oppose the death penalty. Findings when analyzing the cross-tabulation show there is no statistical finding between religion and whether or not an individual opposes or is in favor of the death penalty. In addition, the p-value is p equals 0.34. Because the p-value is more than 0.05, this tells us that there is no significant value between our variables. Here you can see our table for independent variable that shows how often each individual visits religious services. This is our table for our dependent variable that shows whether people favor or oppose the death penalty. This is our cross-tabulation that shows how often people visit religious services, and whether they favor or oppose. And this is the summary of statistics that shows the p-value. Discussion and conclusion. The objective of the study was to investigate the relationship between religious beliefs and a person's viewpoint on the death penalty in the case of murder. The findings were that there is no difference between how religious a person is, as reflected by GSS service attendance, and that person's feeling about the death penalty for murder. Our analysis appears to disprove our hypothesis. There's quite a few limitations on this study. One is other extraneous variables besides religion that play a role in viewpoints about the death penalty. Another is the GSS questions only ask whether you favor or oppose the death penalty for murder, religious attendance, and preference. We are also unable to determine a person's actual religiosity or level of faith. Practical implications include social workers should learn how to apply empirically supportive interventions to help clients. They should become acquainted with and understand research evidence. They should apply it to practice and incorporate it in their procedures. Social workers need to be sensitive and find the best way to serve justice and humanity. Social workers need to be aware of social policies, religious biases, and political controversial issues. And technological advances such as DNA will raise death penalty questions about ethical and social issues. Areas for further studies include future research should focus on clarifying religious beliefs and values, ask more in-depth questions, and differentiate between sex, gender, age, ethnicity, and marital status.